What's up, bud? It's Rob. This is Apparel Success, and in this video right now, what I'm going to share with you is how to keep the fire lit underneath you from the second you start your clothing brand all the way along your journey running your clothing brand to the point where you become successful. I'm going to share with you how I stay motivated on a daily basis and where I summon that from. I'm going to share with you some really personal stuff, and I'm really just going to give you a really clear insight into the full scope of the entrepreneurial journey so you can become a much more well-rounded entrepreneur. I think this video is going to be absolutely amazing for you. Here it is. This video here is sponsored by my buds over at BrandCrowd, and BrandCrowd has a tool called the Logo Maker tool. What it is they have a vast library of professionally designed logos that are fully customizable, so you can add your own fonts, your own layout to it, and all that is 100% free to try. And once you decide that you actually like your logo, you can decide to purchase it and remove it from the marketplace entirely. If you're interested, follow the link in the description below because it'll get you 35% off at checkout. All right, so by far the most common entrepreneurial success story that you hear is of the immigrant who traveled across the border with absolutely no money. They were dead broke, and sometimes they even talk about how they were abused as kids and they had this really rough upbringing. I mean, look at guys like Gary Vaynerchuk always talk about how they were dead broke. They had to work in their dad's shop, 12 hours a day. And this is just constantly what you're fed from entrepreneurs. Number one, because most entrepreneurs that are successful actually went through things like that because they had the evolutionary pressure to have to do something, to take action, to make any sort of success, and that evolutionary pressure gave them the motivation to get things done and to take action. And number two, I think it's just because, it allows their story to become amplified, and it really creates this amazing story the more pain that you went through to get to where you end up. But what I want to talk about here is how actually, for me, I want to share the story of a guy who was actually well-raised, came up in a good household, and was brought through the school system, went to college, went to university, and did the normal thing, and how I actually just found that to be completely distasteful, okay? It just did not suit my lifestyle. It did not suit my goals and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to live my life. And I want to share with you how I got the motivation to do what I do, how I get the motivation to actually take action, coming from a place where I didn't necessarily have the evolutionary pressure to do something like this in terms of, doing it for survival, but instead the evolutionary pressure came from just a change of values, okay? I couldn't stand going to my job 9 to 5 every day, okay? It absolutely drove me nuts to the point where I was literally willing to do anything to change that. All right, so this is gonna sound absolutely nuts, but I remember when I was working my job, driving home from some shifts that I had at work, literally screaming in my car because it drove me so nuts that I was stuck in that position where I had to, wake up and go to a job. I had no option but to go to that job. Otherwise, I'd be fired, and otherwise I couldn't make ends meet, right? And I remember sitting in my job and literally being claustrophobic, having that feeling like I can't leave right now because if I leave my job, like if I literally just get up and walk out, I'll be fired, my whole life ends. So I'm literally stuck in this prison here. And I remember that weighing on me so much. It had just such a harsh effect on me. And I remember looking around at other people who I was working with and just wondering if they were feeling the same thing. And it sort of blew my mind that a lot of these people didn't feel the same way in this position where you're just sort of stuck there and that's your whole life. So if you're one of those people who grew up in a really challenging situation and that's where you find your motivation to become an entrepreneur, I do not envy you. I understand that that can be a huge source of fuel for you, and that's absolutely amazing. I think that you should harness that. But I'm talking to those of you who are looking to become motivated. You want to take more action, but for whatever reason you feel like you're apathetic, you're sort of lazy, you're laying around, you're not getting the work done. This is where I found my motivation, okay? I'd go to work and just that feeling driving home from that job, realizing, I just spent a full day at this place that I absolutely hated. I remember driving home, just all that I could think about was getting home to work on my clothing brand. All that I could think about was just getting home to work on my hobby, to actually build this business into something that's real, where I can finally build that bridge big enough to cross over and just leave and do this whole thing full time. And I finally did it. And let me tell you, honestly, all of that extra work that you do, all of that time that you spend working on it is so worth it at the end of the day. It's so worth it because while all those other people are just complaining, going to the same job every single day, and that's all that they do, you will eventually get to a point where you are in full control of your own life. You're doing what you want to do. You're also making money. You're being responsible. You're actually contributing, as much value as you possibly can. And not only are you contributing value, in say like a job, you're contributing value that's your own. You're making it your own, and it just feels so much better when you're doing that. So I think what happens, and this is what happened with me, is that most entrepreneurs will be in this situation and then they'll stumble across something. And I remember for me, it was something like The Secret, that movie based on the law of attraction or whatever, where it's like, if you think certain ways, you'll be able to manifest them in your reality. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because I was at such a low level, and just like the idea of like, wow, I can create my own reality. This sounds amazing. It just sort of sucked me into it, and it got me involved. And then as I started, trying to build a business and grow certain ventures that I started, I realized that, it's actually pretty hard. It takes a lot of strategy. And so what you end up doing along your journey is you take that stuff from The Secret, the law of attraction, which is half true, right? Like if you focus on what you want and you're constantly focused on that and working towards it, you'll eventually get there. You take that and you integrate it into a new mindset, which is, not only am I going to focus on what I need to do, but I'm also going to put in a lot of work. I'm going to be realistic about it. I'm going to be strategic about it. And, you start to become a well-rounded entrepreneur where you understand all the sides of how everything's working. You understand that human psychology is a difficult thing to understand, and you're going to need to constantly be learning it for the rest of your life as an entrepreneur. Not only that, you're going to constantly be running into issues with yourself, whether it's success barriers, not being able to, do certain things because of fear or laziness, or you just sort of are stuck at certain points and you're just going to have to keep forcing your way through all these difficult things. But if you stick at it, and I mean really stick at it, and you do everything you can to constantly improve and to grow, you will eventually get there. I remember there was a time a few years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, where I didn't have the same self-belief that I have right now. I didn't have the same confidence that I have now. I didn't have a successful business. I was basically just working and coming home and trying to build this thing on the side. And I was literally just like you if you're in that situation right now. And I really hope to inspire you, let you know that I am not special. I didn't have, a special circumstance to begin with. There was nothing that really helped me get to this point other than me just taking it seriously, having a really, really deep passion for it, and just constantly trying to learn. And that's what I'm trying to do from now on. And it just continues to grow. I hope you like this video here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to let you know about the closed Facebook group that we have going on for apparel success. There's a link in the description below. Follow that link. Join us in the Facebook group. We're a bunch of clothing brand owners all in there to support each other and answer each other's questions. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.